What's going on, 242 students? My name is Zach. I am the student director at the Taylor campus, and I've got a couple other people here with me. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Hey, I'm Kevin. I am from the Taylor campus. I'm the Next Steps and small group pastor here.
And I'm Jake. I'm the campus pastor here at the Taylor campus.
Nice. All right, so since we are talking to high schoolers right now, it's a couple of icebreaker questions for you guys. First one I want to start out with is, what was your favorite sport to play or watch in high school?
I'll jump in. My favorite sport to play was guys volleyball. It was actually the only team that I could make because freshman year they didn't have cuts, but I got cut from basketball like all throughout high school, and so I played guys volleyball. It was great. I really enjoyed it. It's awesome.
So they called you the Michael Jordan of men's volleyball.
How did you know that?
Okay.
I grew up in Chicago, so it was a great compliment of being Michael Jordan of volleyball. So if you can find any clips out there, you'll be impressed, let me tell you.
So is this like official sports you played, or is it like
Made up sports? I mean, it could be whatever.
Because like I really didn't play.
Did you play chess? You like chess? Yeah, okay.
But like, you know, especially like some ultimate frisbee or football, but more pickup games of football.
Yeah, fair.
My middle school football game, that was illustrious. Not my high school. I liked it though. To watch, I love football. It's kind of.
You're a Dallas Cowboys
I
fan,
am a
right?
Dallas
Okay.
Cowboys fan.
America's team.
Go Chiefs.
Everyone pretty much hates me. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have much to talk about here.
That's
in
also true.
Metro Detroit. So, anyways, all right. Next question: most embarrassing high school memory. Most embarrassing high school memory.
Most embarrassing. Okay. This is going to be appropriate for you guys if you've been to camp or high school camp or really any camp. I was at high school camp, ninth grade or 10th grade year. We were playing Capture the Flag, a staple at youth group camp, and my stomach started to hurt a little bit. I thought that I could. What's the formal term? Break wind. I thought I could break wind, and it was a little more. There was a little more substance behind that experience. Immediately, left the game, ran It's embarrassing to me. I don't know if anyone caught me. Ran back to the cabin, threw up my clothes, threw them in the garbage. I don't even know to this day. My mom knows that I'm missing a pair of shorts and underwear from that whole experience.
She'll find out now.
She'll find out now if she's watching this with you guys. But yeah, I pooped myself in a game of Capture the Flag. To say it like.
What if somebody just found these clothes and what's going on here? Is there a murder?
They probably did.
Was digging through the trash.
Yeah, that's right. That means they were digging through the trash.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh man, most embarrassing moment. This actually turned into some good, so I almost don't classify this, but in the moment of it, it kind of sucked. I was on, this was junior year. We were on a mission trip to Puerto Rico, that's where it was. And typical time, it was great. We had this day where we had been serving kind of this orphanage in a school all week. We had this day we got to go to the beach, and that's what we always try to do.
Sure.
And I stepped on what I thought was a sharp rock, which everyone else had done something like this, and I felt like the biggest pansy because my foot started hurting so bad, and everyone left on this hike during we were at the beach and they were gonna kind of go in. I don't think I can, and literally other girls had stepped on these sharp rocks, and what in the world was wrong with me? And my foot started just ballooning up, and eventually I found out I actually stepped on a sea urchin. I had to go to a hospital there in Puerto Rico, and they gave me some shot. I couldn't understand anything they were saying. My Spanish is very good. And all I know is, they're just asking me to do things, and before long I was getting a shot in my butt. And we had a whole fun day planned. I missed it all, and I'm just the one person. But there was a girl that I liked.
There you go.
I got to meet them at a restaurant that night, and she came up to me with the most pity, and was just how are you doing? And then we ended up, there was a mariachi band, we ended up dancing outside. I was dragging my foot around. and that's my wife.
Yeah, there it is.
Nice.
There it is. There it is. I was like, where's the resolution here?
Your wife.
That's so good.
There you go.
But in
So
the
good.
moment, I was just like, I'm that kid.
Yeah. Little embarrassing. Still not as bad as pooping your pants.
No, thank you. I'll take that. I've earned that. Thank you.
And apparently you have some other stories, but we won't go to those.
There are. It's too many. There's too many to count. I
If
wish
you
it was
want to
just one.
after this, just find Jake one day. Email him. His name is jake.mcmahon@242community.com and just ask him some questions.
Some questions about my stories. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
All right. So, actual stuff. So, talking about taking next steps with God, and what I really want to focus on right now is taking our next steps with God when it comes to generosity. So, obviously, both of you guys are on staff here at the church. So, how would you say that 242 actually defines or shows generosity?
Yeah. It's great. Man, it's been awesome getting to be a part of a church that talks about generosity regularly. I think the way that when Jesus talked about it, he talked about it at a very high bar. He knew that money would become an idol in our life, and that's why I don't think 242 staff or 242 teaching pastors, shy away from the conversation. But the way that I see, I'm going to tell you a story of recently. We've had the ability to kind of partner with some of our small groups as they pursue their next steps in generosity. And I've seen several of our small groups here at the Taylor campus get to partner alongside of 242 to meet needs. One small group I know specifically that they got to buy groceries for a family. Another small group bought car parts for someone that they had met that the car had broken down. And we've gotten to partner alongside of them in pursuit of generosity. We have a feature in our Give app called Roundup. Rounds up the spare change from your everyday purchases, and we give 100% of that money away to meet needs inside of our community. And that's just been part of the rhythm that I've seen here at 242, and I've gotten to be a part of as being part of a small group. So it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to add on to that?
Yeah, if you want to. If you got nothing, if he gave literally everything away.
No, especially with how 242 defines it. I know one of the most helpful ways I just understand generosity. Is that skipping ahead or anything, or is that
A little bit, but go ahead, go with it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's roll with it.
Okay. Well, because I think generosity. This is a little cliche, but I think one of the healthiest things for me is just that kind of idea that we are blessed to be a blessing, and just unpack that's in every aspect of life, and kind of unpacking what that means, just all the different ways that we've been blessed. And I think a generous person, as you begin to understand, money is something you've been blessed with, even though we've earned it, and things. But even just beginning to see our possessions, beginning to see opportunities, beginning to see our personality and our experiences as those are all things we've been blessed with. But not just to get a pat on the back or to hoard, but actually to find ways to be a blessing out of it.
Yeah, that's really good. And just for that, being a blessing, or a blessing to be a blessing, is that how you worded it?
Yeah,
Whatever.
blessed to be a blessing.
Blessed to be a blessing. What age do you think for you that was when you fully realized that, or you were starting to begin to realize that? That's a great question.
So that's a good question, because when it comes to money, early on, because I grew up as a pastor's kid, and
Same.
Yeah.
so
You gotta give 10% of that choice money.
I literally gave 10% of any birthday money I got.
Whoa,
that
that's
was
more extreme than me.
And honestly, I never took it as legalistic or anything like that. It was just something my parents say, hey, this is just what we do. I kind of did it mainly in an obedience, I'm supposed to do this type thing. But I always knew that this wasn't all just mine. So I understood that from a money perspective, that there was something there, and I kind of grew into understanding the value and the heart behind that. But that fuller meaning of what it means to be a generous person, what that looks like around both the money as well as everything else. That's been something I've unpacked into and through my 20s, to be honest. Just to begin to understand, grow my definition of generosity being so much more than a few bucks or something like that.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good. Yeah, for myself, similar. Grew up as a PK. I was, in high school when I was making money at the car dealership I was working at, it was $90 check a week, and I was given $9 of that. The 10%, the tithe, that kind of been instilled in me. But I would say the overflow of generosity, obedience to what God was asking me to do, it probably came not till I got married to my wife Hannah, we started having these conversations together. And there were moments in our life where we just said, hey, what is God asking of us in response to obedience financially to the church and his mission outside of the church? And that's been something we constantly have to reflect back on together to say, hey, is he calling us to more? Is he calling us to more? Because to be honest, I don't know if he's ever calling us to less, despite our circumstances. So it's been a rhythm that I've been a part of, I would say, is a heart posture, probably since I've been married.
That's good. It kind of seems like both of you guys are saying the same thing, where it's like, you got, at a young age, you had an idea of what generosity is, but as there's always taking the next step with God, there's always taking that next step in generosity as well. And you mentioned the car dealership, $9 went to the tithe. So what would you say, you obviously went through as a high schooler, what would you say to a high school student as far as what does it look like for a high schooler to be generous or live out of generosity, especially if you've got a part-time job or if you're still getting chores money? I don't know what's going on, but
that's great. I'm speaking to you, but I'm also going to speak to 16 or 15-year-old Jake. If I could go back and talk to myself and say, hey, I think it's a heart posture. When I watched Jesus specifically address the idea of the tithe or the tenth that he had asked his people, that God had asked his people to give in response back to him, you find him rebuking the Pharisees for doing it in kind of a legalistic way. Like there was no heart behind it. They did it because it was rules-based, not heart-based. And looking at myself and speaking to high schoolers, I think I would say, based on your income, what you've been blessed with, what you've been blessed to be a blessing with, I think it's an obedience piece. And I think it starts with your personal relationship with God. And I would have told myself, hey, basically ask God, what are you asking of me to give? And how can I be even more obedient than that in that area? If you're trying to ask yourself, what's the bare minimum I can give? I don't know if that's the heart posture that Jesus would model or that God is asking of us. And that's something I have to reflect on regularly. So depending on where you're at, that might look differently. But if you see a need arise, I think obedience starts inside of the local church to continue God's mission here at 242 or whatever local church that you're a part of. It starts there, and then an overflow of generosity comes from meeting individual needs from people in your life. That can be as small as $5 or as large as $5,000. But I trust that God will speak to you specifically through the Holy Spirit on what that obedience piece looks like in your life.
It's good.
Say the question one more time.
So just what would you say to a high school student as far as what does it look like for them to show and express generosity?
Yeah, I think just to add on, because I think that was really well said. I think the thing I would definitely want to preface or say is generosity is like Jake said, it's a heart posture. It's so much bigger than money. That's what I just want to say.
That's true.
It's so much bigger, and it flows from something so much bigger. However, I just know in my life, especially in high school, you're getting $90 a week or whatever it was. That's big time money.
That was big time money.
That's huge.
Yeah, man. Big time money.
I remember one time when I had $100 in my bank account, and I'm just I am killing it. This is big time. And I'm so aware that money so easily becomes a god in my life, whether I want to ever admit it or not. And so, while it is so much bigger, generosity is so much bigger than just money. Money is a really important place to be intentional about being generous. And there is for sure an aspect of, there's this simultaneous aspect when we choose to give of our money. And I think the local church is the best place to start. Hopefully you're going to a church you believe that they are pursuing the mission that Jesus has put out, and you want to be a part and support that. But I believe you're doing two things. One, you're not just supporting the mission. You're saying, I'm gonna give because I'm taking an active posture of trusting Jesus, trusting God with something that I really want to trust money, if I'm honest with a lot of what I do. So I'm trusting, and I'm also kind of rooting money out of my life to say that's not where my trust lies. And there's kind of a doing both of those things. And so I I would highly encourage you to take some step. Again, I always want to talk about generosity is bigger than just money, but doing something when it comes to your finances, even if you don't have a job that you're getting paid all the time right now. Like you might be saying, I don't get paid, I don't need to do this. I think for me, the whole percentage thing's been big time, like my whole life. Of just, I think there's some kind of model there of 10%, but even if you just need to set a goal of that, whatever that percentage needs to be, and just kind of making a statement to say, hey, whenever money comes in, whether it's through a job or something else, I'm just going to give this set percentage, whatever that is for you, as a reminder that my trust is in God, not in my finances.
Yeah, that's really good. Like not immediately jumping to the 10%. I know, like we do that here at 242. You mentioned it with Roundup. Like there's different ways that you can get engaged into what the local church is doing. So that's really good. And you kind of hit on it a little bit as far as like just being a generous person. I think you explained that, but just a little bit of a curveball from what we talked about originally. Like how would you say that you actually become a generous person when it comes to finances and everything that encompasses being generous? How do you think you would become a generous person?
I mean, just to throw out some thoughts, and you can add on or clarify what I say wrong. But like, I think there's two aspects of that. Like one, and this is gonna sound kind of churchy, to be honest. There's just an aspect of if you don't understand the blessing that you have, it's hard to be a blessing out of that. Like, and so there's something there about just like hanging out and like what like Jesus has done for us, like what Jesus like just the way that he views the worth and the value that he gives us as just his children, but also the way that we just begin to understand that every good and perfect gift is from God, and just how that like there's something about just realizing that first of all. Then there's like this weird kind of thing of just doing it. Like if you don't participate in generous acts, and like honestly sometimes you'll do stuff and people are generous for honestly horrible motivations. I mean, they're just trying to look good. But if I'm honest in my own life, there's a certain element of like, not that I ever want to encourage someone to fake it till you make it, but there's been times where I've kind of been forced into something, or I've taken a step for even bad motivations that I've discovered something on the other side of that. And so again, I don't want you to do something just for legalism or for like, this is the right thing to do by any means. But I think participating in generous things, especially in community, like I think when you have opportunities in groups that you're a part of, through if your student ministry is doing something, like lean into that, because that you begin to learn the heart and the value behind that.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, becoming a generous person. I mean, I would say I hope you guys can learn the skill. Like, even though maybe I was tithing out of what I felt like my parents were expecting of me when I was in high school, like I want to give you guys the gift to start that heart posture now. And I think, Kevin nailed it on the head. It's just like, it's what has Jesus done for us, and how can every area of my life, even in the area of generosity, become an overflow of that. Like I want to be obedient because of the gift of grace, the gift that he's given me, eternal life, the gift that I have hope and purpose and relationship with Jesus, and it just comes out of that. I think, Kevin, you nailed it on the head. It's awesome.
Well, good stuff, guys. Really appreciate you guys having this conversation. And right now, we're just going to go into a time of encounter, a time of worship. And I don't know what you need to do right now. Maybe you just need to get alone, get your Bible out, and maybe just ask God, like, what are some clear steps for you to take to become a more generous person. I don't know what it is, but whatever you need to do to get your heart in that right posture as we go into this time of encounter and worship.
As I reflect, I find perspective. You're in the best and worst days of this life. You were always by my side. You're in the pain, you're in the promise, and on the days the furnace finds my faith, you're the fourth within the flames.
So what I want you to do right now is go ahead and get a piece of paper out, maybe just a Post-it note. And what I want you to do is write down your next step in generosity. Like we said, maybe you've got a part-time job and you've never felt the need until now to start tithing to a local church. Or maybe it's just an opportunity to go ahead and collect canned goods to give to your local food distribution center. Maybe it's an opportunity for you to be generous with your time and how you give back to your community. Maybe it's time for you to go and clean a park or a local school. I don't know what it is specifically for you. But right now, during this moment, why don't you go ahead and write down what is your specific next step in generosity.
One name holds a weight above them all. His fame outlasts the earthly form. His praise resounds beyond the stars and echoes in our hearts. The greatest one of all. His face shines brighter than the stars. His grace has boundless access. He reigns with healing in his wings. The King of kings, the greatest one of all. Lift up our eyes and see the King has come. Mountain the world reaching out for us. There is no other name. There is no other name. Jesus Christ our God. Oh, seated on high, the undefeated one. Mountains bow down as they lift him up. There is no other name. There is no other name. Jesus Christ our God. Oh, the earth will shake and tremble before Him. Chains will break as heaven and earth sing. Holy is the name
Thanks for joining us here at 242 Students Online. But don't worry, the experience doesn't stop here. We have online small groups and even some small groups that are meeting in person at parks, outside of campuses, during this season of social distancing. And if you're not already a part of one of those, fill out one of our next step cards so that we can help you get connected. Another great way to get connected and really to know what's going on is to follow your campus's Facebook or Instagram pages, as well as to subscribe to this YouTube channel. We want to help you grow and take next steps with God. And even after COVID's over, our hope is that this channel and those social media channels will be a place for you to grow and take next steps and hear one another's stories at. Looking forward to seeing you guys next week here at 242 Students Online.